Welcome to Sacred Serenity. Tonight, as the world fades into silence, let your heart breathe again. You've carried enough today, enough noise, enough rushing, enough thoughts that refuse to let go. But now, in this quiet moment, you are invited to do something different, to be still. Stillness isn't emptiness, it's alignment. When everything around you spins, God doesn't move faster, He moves deeper. The world teaches urgency, but heaven teaches peace. Somewhere between your heartbeat and your breath, there is a sacred space where anxiety cannot live, and tonight, that space belongs to you. Psalm 46 says, "Be still and know that I am God." It isn't a command of discipline, it's a whisper of comfort. It's God reminding you that you don't have to hold the universe together. He already does. You don't have to control tomorrow. It rests safely in His hands. And you don't have to earn His presence. It's already here, moving quietly through every breath you take. So, wherever you are, lying in bed, watching the embers of the fire, listening through the hum of your room, let those words settle into you. Be still, not frozen, not passive, but trusting. Let your shoulders drop. Let your mind slow. You are not alone in this night. The God who made you also watches over you. He does not sleep, so you can. As we begin, take a slow, deep breath. Feel the rhythm of peace beginning to return to your body. Let every inhale remind you that God is near, and every exhale release the weight you were never meant to carry. This is your sanctuary in sound, a place where faith meets rest, where scripture becomes a lullaby for the soul. Stay here, stay open, and let the word wash over you. Because tonight, you are not fighting, striving, or proving. You are simply learning the divine art of stillness. You are safe, you are loved, you are held. Light in the darkness. The night is quiet now. The air rests heavy. And yet, somewhere within that stillness, a gentle truth begins to glow. There is a light that refuses to go out. A light that has never needed permission to shine. 1 John 1:5 says, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." That verse is not merely a comfort, it's a declaration. Darkness does not win. It never has. It may press close, whisper fear, or stretch long into hours that seem endless, but light remains undefeated. It doesn't argue. It doesn't force. It simply exists, and that is enough to transform everything around it. Maybe tonight your mind still hums with questions, or your heart feels far from peace. You are not alone in that space. Even there, where thoughts scatter and hope feels faint, His light moves quietly, through memory, through breath, through the silence that others overlook. It reaches into the corners of your soul and reminds you that you are not forgotten. The world's light can fade, but the light of Christ endures. It burns in kindness, in forgiveness, in every act of quiet courage you've ever offered. It's the soft glow that survives heartbreak, the dawn that follows despair. And even when your eyes cannot see it, it still shines for you, through you, and within you. Let that thought settle. You don't need to chase the light. It already dwells in you. Let it rise, like a small flame flickering steady inside your chest, warming every cold place you tried to hide. Let it whisper, "You are seen, you are safe, and this night is not without meaning." Breathe deeply now. Inhale the quiet assurance that light is stronger than fear. Exhale every shadow that no longer belongs to you. You are being renewed softly, because in every darkness you have faced, the light has never left. And tonight, come and see. There is a sacred invitation woven into the quiet of the night, an invitation not to perform, not to prove, but simply to draw near. John 1:39 says, "Come and you will see." These are not the words of a God who demands understanding before love, but of a Father who meets us in our wondering. So often we wait for clarity before we move. We want answers before surrender, proof before trust. But faith was never built that way. Faith begins with a single step into mystery, a step toward the one who already stands waiting. When Jesus said, "Come," he wasn't calling perfect believers. He was calling the weary, the uncertain, the ones still carrying the ache of their own confusion. He didn't promise explanations. He promised presence. And in his presence, vision unfolds, not all at once, but gently, as light reveals a path inch by inch. Perhaps tonight, you don't need to understand everything. Perhaps you only need to come closer, to open your heart just wide enough for peace to enter. Because when you come as you are, even with trembling steps, he meets you there. The miracle has always been less about what we see and more about the courage it takes to seek. You don't have to chase God. He's already found you. You don't have to shout to be heard. He's been listening all along. Every prayer you whispered and thought was lost has already reached him. He waits not on your perfection, but on your presence. Let this moment be your quiet. Yes, you don't need to run, just rest. Let your curiosity become worship. Let your breath become prayer. There is beauty in not knowing and peace in not striving. For the one who dares to come will always see, not the whole plan, but enough light for the next step. Now, inhale softly and whisper in your heart, "I come, Lord." Exhale every doubt that has chained your faith. Feel how peace replaces the weight of explanation. You are being drawn, not by force, but by love. And in this stillness, you begin to see, not with your eyes, but with your soul. For when you come, he reveals, and what he reveals is himself, the water that heals. There are thirsts that no drink can quench, longings that sleep cannot quiet, success cannot satisfy, and comfort cannot reach. Each of us has searched for something to fill that hollow space inside, drawing from wells that promised life, but left us emptier than before. But in John 4:14, Jesus says, "Whoever drinks of the water I give will never thirst." He offers not an escape from need, but a source that never runs dry. We chase many kinds of water. The water of recognition, hoping to be seen. The water of control, trying to keep life predictable. The water of distraction, numbing what hurts to avoid what heals. And yet, the moment we stop running and listen, we find that the living water we sought has been whispering to us all along. The Samaritan woman came to the well at noon, alone, tired, carrying both shame and routine. But it was there, in the heat of her weariness, that Jesus waited for her. He didn't demand she be clean before she came. He offered her water that would make her whole. That same invitation remains open tonight. You don't have to prove your worth to drink from his grace. You only have to come thirsty. The water he gives doesn't just refresh, it restores. It washes away the dust of old regrets and the bitterness of disappointment. It doesn't ask you to forget your past, it redeems it. And in that redemption, peace begins to flow, quietly, like a spring rising beneath the soil of your soul. Close your eyes for a moment, breathe in slowly, and imagine the coolness of that living water touching your heart. Feel it moving through the cracks of exhaustion into every dry and hidden place. With each breath, your spirit drinks what the world could never give. Let it cleanse the noise, soften the ache, and fill you again with hope. The thirst of the soul is not a curse, it's an invitation. It's how God calls you closer. And when you drink deeply of his word, you'll find that what once felt empty becomes overflow. Because his water doesn't just satisfy, it heals. And from that healing, peace begins to pour quietly, endlessly, from within you. Do not be troubled. There are nights when the mind refuses to rest, when thoughts circle endlessly, replaying what-ifs and unfinished plans. You lie awake, not because the room is loud, but because the heart is. Jesus knew how heavy that silence could be. That's why he said in John 14:1, "Let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me." He didn't say the storm would stop tonight, but he promised you could still find peace in its midst. Anxiety is the echo of trying to hold too much, trying to solve, to fix. to control what was never ours to carry. But faith is a quieter voice, one that doesn't compete with fear. It simply reminds you, you are not alone, you are not forgotten, you are not in charge of the wind. The one who calms the sea still whispers to your soul, peace, be still. It's easy to think peace arrives only when everything is solved, but peace is not the absence of chaos. It's the presence of Christ. It's the quiet confidence that even in confusion, He remains steady. Your mind may race, but His hands do not tremble. And even when you cannot see how, He is already making a way through what feels impossible. Tonight, you are invited to rest, not because every answer has come, but because you no longer need all the answers to trust Him. Let your heart unclench. Let your shoulders drop. Let the worries you've rehearsed all day find their rest too. Breathe in slowly. Whisper softly, I believe. With each breath, release the thought that keeps returning, the fear that refuses to leave. Let faith take its gentle place in the center of your chest. It doesn't need to roar, it only needs to remain. There is no condemnation for being afraid. Even the bravest hearts tremble. But belief, small, quiet, and sincere, has power beyond fear's reach. Faith doesn't always move the mountain. Sometimes it just keeps you steady while the mountain stands. So tonight, as the world sleeps, remember this. You are being held. Your heart may still, your breath may slow, and your spirit may find rest. Because even in the storm, the whisper of Christ remains. Let not your heart be troubled. Rest in His arms. There comes a moment when strength runs out, when no amount of effort can calm the restlessness inside. You've tried to hold everything together, the plans, the people, the promises. But even the strongest hands grow weary when they carry too much for too long. And in that exhaustion, the gentle voice of Jesus calls again, Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Rest is not weakness. It's not failure or avoidance. It's trust. True rest is not running away from responsibility. It's running into His embrace. It's the kind of peace that doesn't require the world to stop spinning, only for your soul to stop striving. Because what He offers isn't a pause, it's a refuge. Maybe tonight you feel the weight of invisible burdens, the kind no one else sees, the expectations you try to meet, the worries you keep quiet, the ache that lingers even after prayer. But the one who shaped your heart knows exactly how heavy it has become, and He's not asking you to hold it any longer. He's asking you to hand it over. In His arms, there is no judgment, only gentleness. He doesn't measure your worth by what you've achieved, but by the love He's already given. You don't have to earn His rest, you only have to receive it. When you finally stop fighting to stay strong, you begin to feel His strength holding you instead. Take a deep breath now. As you exhale, imagine every burden leaving your chest, drifting away like leaves carried by a soft river. Let your heart lean fully into His presence. Feel the stillness settling over you like a warm blanket, the kind that doesn't just comfort but heals. You are safe here. You are seen. You are held in arms that never grow tired. Every fear, every pressure, every expectation can rest tonight, because you no longer have to carry them alone. Close your eyes and breathe the peace that comes when love holds you steady. In His arms, you are not required to be strong, only willing to rest. And in that rest, your soul begins to heal. Peace be still. The sea was raging that night. Waves crashed against the boat, wind howled through the darkness, and fear rose higher than the storm itself. The disciples, seasoned fishermen who had faced countless tempests, felt certain this one would end them. But then, above the roar of chaos, came a voice unlike any other, calm, certain, sovereign. Peace, be still. And suddenly, the sea obeyed. That same voice still speaks tonight, not to the waters of Galilee, but to the restless tides inside you. The storms may have different names now: anxiety, loss, loneliness, uncertainty. but they crash just as fiercely. And yet, just as he did then, Jesus rises within the storm and commands your soul to rest. You are not sinking, you are being held. The waves you fear are beneath his feet. He does not shout over the storm. He simply speaks, and creation listens. And the heart that listens too will find itself steady, even when the wind refuses to stop. Maybe the storm around you hasn't ended yet. The bills still wait. The diagnosis still lingers. The silence from heaven still feels long. But peace does not wait for circumstance. It flows from presence. The world tells you to fight the storm. Jesus invites you to rest through it. Because peace is not the calm after, it's the calm within. Take a slow, deep breath. As you inhale, whisper softly in your heart, peace. And as you exhale, whisper, be still. Let the rhythm of your breath match the rhythm of his grace. Gentle, steady, faithful. Each breath is a reminder that the same God who commands oceans also commands your thoughts, your fears, your heartbeat. You do not have to earn this peace. You only have to receive it. You are not called to control the storm, only to trust the one who does. And when your faith feels small, remember, the sea doesn't need your strength to grow calm. It only needs his word. So tonight, let his voice become louder than your worries. Let his stillness replace your striving. For in every storm, one truth remains unshaken. He is here. And where he is, peace always follows. The shepherd's voice. There is a sound that cuts through the noise of life. Not loud, not forceful, but unmistakably gentle. It is the voice of the shepherd. The world shouts, demands, and pulls your attention in 100 directions, yet his voice remains calm, steady, and kind. John 10:27 says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them." It's a reminder that in a world of endless noise, recognition comes not from volume, but from intimacy. You are known by the one who speaks your name in love. He doesn't call you by your mistakes, your past, or your failures. He calls you by who you are in him, and when he speaks, even the chaos quiets. Because his voice carries not just sound, but safety. It's the tone of belonging, the comfort of home. There are moments when that voice feels distant, when confusion thickens and prayers seem to echo unanswered. But even then, he has not stopped speaking. We have only forgotten how to listen. The shepherd's voice isn't found in the thunder or the crowd. It's found in the still, unguarded places of the heart. He doesn't rush you. He restores you. He doesn't scold you. He guides you back with tenderness. Maybe tonight, the noise of your thoughts feels too loud. The what-ifs, the regrets, the fears of tomorrow. But if you listen closely, beneath all that noise, you'll hear a familiar whisper. It's the same voice that led you out of despair before, the same one that spoke peace into your sleepless nights, and the same one that promises even now, you are mine. Take a slow, deep breath. Let your mind quiet down, and let your heart tune in. You don't need to strain to hear. His presence is already here. Spend this moment not thinking, not striving, but simply being aware, because hearing his voice is not about sound. It's about stillness. The shepherd has never lost you. Even when you wandered, he followed. Even when you stopped listening, he kept calling. And tonight, his voice finds you again, soft, familiar, filled with love. Listen, he is speaking, and in his whisper, your soul remembers its way home. Abide in me. There is a kind of peace that cannot be earned, a calm that cannot be manufactured. It comes not from striving or success, but from staying close. In John 15:4, Jesus says, "Abide in me and I in you." It's not an instruction to achieve, it's an invitation to remain. To abide is to rest in relationship, to dwell in the love that never leaves. We live in a world that praises movement, doing, achieving, proving. But the soul does not grow in constant motion. It flourishes in stillness, in connection, in quiet trust. A branch doesn't bear fruit by effort. It bears fruit by attachment. And you too are meant to draw life not from what you accomplish, but from the one you're connected to. When you rush through days filled with noise and hurry, you may forget that peace is not somewhere to reach, it's someone to remain in. Abiding doesn't mean hiding from the world, it means carrying His presence within you as you face it. It's a life that moves, but never disconnects. It's the subtle awareness that even in silence, you are held. Tonight, you are invited to return, not to religion, not to performance, but to presence. Let go of everything that keeps you chasing worth. You don't have to prove your faith, you just have to stay close. The vine doesn't demand that the branch be strong. It simply offers life freely, continually, faithfully. Take a slow breath now. As you inhale, imagine His love flowing into you like sap through a living branch, warm, steady, nourishing. As you exhale, release the tension of trying to be enough. You already are enough because you are connected to Him. When you dwell in Christ, worry loosens its grip. Fear loses its voice. Even in the darkest night, there is a quiet assurance that you belong to something eternal, and from that belonging, rest begins to bloom. You are not drifting. You are rooted. You are not forgotten. You are held. Abiding is not a moment. It's a home. So tonight, return to that home. Stay. Abide. And let peace grow deep within you. Let not your heart fear. Fear comes quietly, sometimes disguised as thought, sometimes as what if, sometimes as the weight pressing on your chest before sleep. You tell yourself to be brave, but bravery isn't what your soul needs right now. It needs peace, His peace. In John 14:27, Jesus says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you." Not the fragile calm that the world offers for a moment, but the lasting stillness that no storm can undo. The world's comfort fades as quickly as the day's light. It soothes for a while, then disappears when the noise returns. But the peace of Christ remains, a quiet current running beneath the chaos, steady and sure. It is not earned through perfection or effort. It is received through surrender. He doesn't ask you to fix everything before resting. He invites you to rest because He has already made a way. Maybe tonight your heart is restless, caught between faith and fear. The world tells you to fight harder, to push through, to take control. But Jesus simply says, "Let not your heart be troubled." He doesn't promise a life without storms. He promises peace that endures through them. It is the kind of peace that guards your heart like a gentle sentinel, standing watch while you sleep. When you choose to rest in that gift, you're not giving up, you're giving in. You're letting the presence of God become the pillow beneath your worries. You're letting His stillness hush the thoughts that have shouted all day. And in that holy quiet, something beautiful happens. The heart softens, the breath deepens, and fear loses its power. Place your hand over your heart now. Feel its rhythm, steady, unforced, alive. That heartbeat exists because His hand holds yours, even in the dark. Breathe in slowly, and imagine His peace flowing through you like warm light. As you exhale, release the tightness that fear built inside your chest. You don't have to carry it anymore. The peace He gives is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of love. It protects not by removing pain, but by reminding you that you are never alone. So tonight, rest, not in certainty, but in trust, for His peace lingers even when dreams begin, and His hand never leaves your heart. The gift of rest. Worry is a thief that steals both sleep and joy. It convinces the heart that tomorrow depends entirely on your control, that peace must be earned through constant planning, that rest is something you'll deserve later. But Jesus, in His quiet wisdom, says otherwise. In Matthew 6:34, He reminds us, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." It's not a warning, it's a liberation. You are not meant to carry every day at once. You were never designed to hold the future in trembling hands. Each sunrise brings enough light for that day alone, and that is mercy. The same God who painted yesterday's sky will color tomorrow's too. Your task tonight is not to predict his next move. It's to rest in the certainty that he never stops moving. Rest is an act of faith. It is trust disguised as stillness, surrender wrapped in silence. When you rest, you're telling God, I believe you're still working even when I am not. It's in those quiet hours when the world slows down that heaven begins to rebuild what your mind wore out during the day. Perhaps tonight, your thoughts are scattered across the calendar, next week's decisions, next month's fears, next year's unknowns. But tomorrow's burdens are not yours yet, and grace has no need to arrive early. Peace is found only here, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this sacred now. The past has already been redeemed, and the future already belongs to God. So let go. Breathe out the worries that cling to your chest. Let your soul unclench its fists and release the need to control what only heaven can hold. Rest isn't laziness, it's alignment. It's stepping out of the illusion that you are the keeper of all things, and stepping into the truth that you are kept by Him. As you close your eyes, whisper softly, I release tomorrow. Let the phrase become a lullaby for your soul. Imagine the weight of the day lifting from your shoulders, replaced by quiet assurance. You don't need to solve what comes next. You only need to trust the one who already has. Rest is not the end of your strength. It is the beginning of His. And tonight, that is your gift, the bread of life. Hunger is not always felt in the body. Sometimes it hides deep in the soul, a quiet ache, a longing that no achievement, no comfort, no person can satisfy. We try to fill that emptiness with more success, more distraction, more noise. But the more we consume, the less we feel full. And then, through that emptiness, a voice whispers again from John 6:35, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger. Jesus didn't speak of physical hunger alone. He spoke to the restless heart, the one that seeks meaning in temporary things and still feels unsatisfied. Because no possession, no applause, no momentary joy can feed the eternal hunger for belonging. Only His word, His presence, His truth can fill what was designed for eternity. The bread He offers is not fleeting. It doesn't crumble with time or lose flavor when life changes. It nourishes the spirit, strengthens the weary, and brings peace where striving once lived. Every promise in His word is like a piece of living bread, soft, sustaining, eternal. It reminds you that you are not starving for lack of things, but for lack of Him. Maybe tonight you feel drained, tired of running after something unnamed, tired of reaching for satisfaction that keeps slipping away. But here, in this stillness, the table is already set. You don't have to earn your seat or bring anything with you. Just come hungry for truth. Come weary, and He will feed you until the ache inside grows quiet. Take a slow breath now. As you inhale, imagine being filled, not with effort, but with grace. Each breath is like receiving a fresh piece of living bread. It enters gently, nourishing your heart with divine peace. As you exhale, release the cravings that never satisfied you, the worry, the striving, the need to be enough. You are already enough because you are fed by something eternal. The world may leave you hungry, but His love never does. He is the bread that sustains, the word that restores, the presence that satisfies. Tonight, rest in that fullness. You have nothing left to chase, only something to receive. For the bread of life has come to feed your soul forever. When faith feels small. There are nights when faith doesn't feel like fire. It feels like a flicker. You pray, but the words feel thin. You hope, but doubt lingers close behind. You want to believe, but your heart whispers, what if I can't? And yet, Jesus looks upon that trembling heart with tenderness and says in Matthew 17:20, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed. He doesn't ask for strength. He asks for sincerity. Because real faith isn't measured by size, it's measured by surrender. The smallest yes, the quietest prayer, the faintest trust. He sees them all. God does not despise the seed that seems too small to grow. He plants it. And from that seed, miracles unfold in ways your eyes cannot yet see. The mustard seed begins buried, hidden, unseen by the world. But under the soil where no one watches, life begins to stir. That is what God does with your faith. He takes what feels fragile and transforms it into something rooted, something strong. You may not feel it growing, but heaven does. You may not see movement, but heaven moves. Sometimes faith looks like standing still when fear tells you to run. Sometimes it looks like praying again when yesterday's prayer went unanswered. And sometimes faith is nothing more than whispering, "Here I am, Lord." I still believe that whisper echoes louder in heaven than all your doubts combined. Tonight, stop judging your faith by its size. Instead, notice that it still exists. If your faith was truly gone, you wouldn't even be listening now. The very fact that you're here, seeking, proves that something inside you still reaches for Him. And that, right there, is enough. Hold your hand open. Whisper softly, "Here is my faith." It may not be much, but in His hands, small becomes sacred. The seed becomes a tree. The whisper becomes a testimony. God never needed your perfection, only your permission. So let Him take what little you have and turn it into what only He can. Because faith, no matter how small, is still stronger than fear, and the one who planted it will never stop helping it grow. The quiet path. There is a rhythm to grace, and it never hurries. The world moves fast, always reaching, always racing, always measuring worth by how much is done. But the shepherd leads differently. Psalm 23 verse 2 says, "He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul." His pace is slower, softer, more human, because He knows that the soul cannot heal in a rush. You don't have to run to be led. You don't have to strive to be loved. When you walk with Him, every step becomes a prayer, every breath a quiet confession of trust. The shepherd doesn't demand speed. He invites surrender. He doesn't drive you forward with pressure. He draws you gently with peace. The quiet path isn't about progress. It's about presence. It's the way of listening instead of forcing, resting instead of chasing. The world rewards urgency, but God restores through stillness. He leads you not through noise, but through calm waters that reflect His light. It is there, in the unhurried silence, that your soul begins to remember how to breathe again. Maybe tonight you feel lost in the noise, pulled in directions that have left you drained. Maybe your heart has been running so long, it forgot how to rest. The shepherd calls you now, not to fix everything, but to walk with Him a while. He knows the terrain. He knows the fatigue. He knows exactly how to guide you home. Close your eyes and imagine the path before you. The grass soft beneath your feet, the sound of a river whispering nearby. You walk slowly, not because you're weak, but because you're finally allowing yourself to move at the pace of grace. The water glistens, still and clear, and as you kneel to drink, your heart feels lighter, your mind quieter. Every worry falls away like pebbles dropped into the stream, sinking out of sight. The shepherd restores what the world depletes. He does not rush you to heal. He walks with you as you do. Each step beside still waters is a step back into peace. So tonight, let Him lead. Walk slower, breathe deeper. The path is quiet, but it is holy, and He restores you with every step. The God who sees. There are moments in life when invisibility feels heavy, when you give, but no one notices, when you speak, but no one listens, when you ache quietly, and the world moves on. It's easy to believe that being unseen means being unloved. But long before anyone overlooked you, God whispered a truth that still holds power tonight. You are the God who sees me. Genesis 16:13. These words were first spoken by Hagar, a woman alone in the desert, abandoned and afraid. She had no home, no voice, no comfort. Yet in her wilderness, God found her. He didn't send an army or a miracle. He sent His presence. He called her by name and showed her that even when forgotten by people, she was still known by heaven. That is the same God who watches over you now. His gaze is not heavy with judgment, but soft with compassion. He doesn't see you as a list of flaws or failures. He sees the story, the struggle, the courage it took for you to keep going. When others overlook, He looks closer. When others misunderstand, He understands completely. Maybe tonight you feel unseen by family, by friends, even by God Himself. But remember this: silence is not absence. Just because He isn't loud doesn't mean He isn't near. The God who sees does not forget. He is watching, not from a distance, but from within the details of your life. He sees the tears you never speak of, the kindness you give when no one thanks you, the pain you hide behind a quiet smile. And in His seeing, there is healing. Because to be fully seen and still fully loved, that is the kind of love that frees you. It tells your soul, you don't have to perform to be worthy. You already are. Close your eyes now. Breathe deeply and say, "You see me, and I am safe." Let those words sink in. You don't need to fight for recognition or prove your value. He already knows who you are, and He delights in what He sees. Even in the dimmest night, His eyes are on you, watching, guiding, loving. You are not invisible. You are seen, and that is enough. Calm in the chaos. Chaos doesn't always come as thunder. It can arrive quietly, in the form of worry, exhaustion, or the weight of too many responsibilities. Sometimes the storm isn't around you. It's inside you. The mind races, the heart pounds, and the spirit trembles, wondering if this time the waves will win. But in Mark 6:50, as the sea raged and fear consumed His disciples, Jesus spoke words that cut through the wind. "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." He didn't wait for the storm to stop before speaking. He walked into it. He met them in their fear, not after it was gone, but while it still roared around them. That is the beauty of His presence. It doesn't wait for your life to be calm. It creates calm where He stands. The sea was wild, but His presence was stronger. Fear thrives in isolation. It tells you you're alone in the dark, fighting waves no one else sees. But you are not alone in your storm. Every time you've whispered a desperate prayer, He has been there. Close enough to hear, close enough to reach. He is not standing on the shore shouting instructions. He's already in the water beside you. The chaos may not disappear instantly, but the panic doesn't have to stay. Because courage doesn't mean the storm is gone. It means your heart remembers who commands the wind. Faith doesn't remove the waves. It anchors you through them. And while fear screams, His whisper remains steady. Take courage, it is I. Take a slow breath now. Inhale courage. Feel your chest rise with quiet strength. Exhale fear. Let it drift away like mist on the sea. The waves that once felt overwhelming begin to soften, not because they've vanished, but because you've remembered who walks with you. Jesus never promised a life without chaos. He promised His presence within it. The one who walked upon the water still walks toward you tonight, hand extended, voice unwavering. He does not ask you to calm the storm. He asks you to trust the one who can. And in that trust, the chaos begins to lose its power. For where He stands, peace reigns. And in His presence, even the storm must bow. Abundant grace. There is a soft place where striving ends and grace begins. It's the moment when you finally stop trying to earn what has already been given. When your tired heart admits that perfection was never the goal, only presence. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, God speaks through the weariness of Paul. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. These words don't celebrate strength, they sanctify surrender. Grace is not a reward for the flawless. It's a refuge for the honest. It finds you at your lowest, not to condemn, but to lift. Where you run out of willpower, grace steps in with mercy. Where you fall short, grace fills the space. It is the gentle voice saying, "You don't have to be enough because I already am." We live in a world that tells us to hide our weakness, to cover, to mask, to pretend. But grace thrives in the places we try to hide. It pours itself into the cracks, turning brokenness into beauty, scars into stories, and guilt into gratitude. Your failures don't disqualify you from grace. They become the very ground where grace grows deepest. Maybe tonight you feel empty, spent from trying to prove your worth to a world that never stops asking for more. But grace whispers, rest. You don't have to perform for God. You don't have to impress Him. You only need to be real. He already knows your limits, and He loves you there. His strength doesn't replace your weakness. It shines through it. Take a slow, steady breath. Let your shoulders relax under the weight of acceptance. Whisper quietly, "I am enough because you are enough." Feel those words sink deep, like cool rain on thirsty ground. You don't have to keep climbing. You can finally rest. Because grace is not the finish line. It's the hand that helps you stand when you fall. His grace doesn't run out when you do. It doesn't expire when you fail. It renews, redeems, and restores endlessly. So tonight, release the pressure to be perfect. Breathe in the truth that you are already loved, already covered, already complete. For His grace is sufficient, and that is more than enough. The anchor of hope. There are seasons when life feels like open water, vast, uncertain, and without shore in sight. The waves rise, the winds change, and the direction once so clear begins to blur. In those moments, it's easy to mistake drifting for being lost. But Hebrews 6:19 reminds us, we have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. Hope is not a feeling that fades with the tide. It is the steady anchor that holds beneath the surface, unseen yet unshakable. An anchor doesn't stop the sea from moving. It doesn't silence the storm or calm the waves. What it does is something quieter, deeper. It keeps you from being swept away. Hope works the same way. It doesn't always change what's around you, but it keeps your heart grounded in what never changes: God's love, His promises, His faithfulness. When everything else shifts, His word does not. When people waver, His presence remains. And even when your grip on faith weakens, hope holds fast to you. Because this anchor isn't tied to your strength, it's tied to His. Maybe tonight you feel the drift, the slow pull of uncertainty, the ache of unanswered prayers, the distance between what you dreamed and what is. But anchors are meant for deep water, not shallow seas. It is here, in the unknown, that hope proves its worth. You may not see it working, but beneath the surface, it's holding you steady in ways you can't yet understand. Take a deep breath. As you inhale, imagine the weight of the anchor sinking deep into calm water. As you exhale, feel the tension in your chest begin to loosen. You are not adrift. You are not forgotten. You are tethered to something eternal, something strong enough to withstand every current of fear and doubt. The storm may define the noise, but the anchor defines your direction. Hope is not fragile. It's forged in the deepest places. And even when the surface churns, the soul that anchors in Christ remains still. So tonight, rest not in the calm of the sea, but in the certainty of the anchor. For though you may drift, hope will hold, firm, secure, and forever. The gentle whisper. There are moments when the world feels unbearably loud, when every thought competes for attention, and every fear echoes without pause. You search for God in the thunder, in the drama, in the miracle that shakes the earth, but He often doesn't meet you there. Instead, He waits for you in the stillness, in the quiet place between one breath and the next. 1 Kings 19:12 says, "And after the fire came a gentle whisper. Elijah had just witnessed wind that tore through mountains, fire that lit up the sky, and yet God was not in any of them. He was in the whisper, the smallest sound, barely audible, but filled with presence. It was not power that moved Elijah to his knees that day. It was intimacy, because the God who commands galaxies also leans close enough to speak softly into your soul. We often expect him to shout answers into our storms, but God rarely shouts. He whispers. He doesn't need volume to be heard. He needs your attention. He doesn't compete with the noise. He simply waits for the heart that's willing to listen. Maybe tonight, you've been searching for signs, for clarity, for something unmistakable to prove he's still near. But what if he's already speaking, in the pause between your thoughts, in the peace that follows a tear, in the moment your heart softens without reason? His whisper doesn't demand, it draws. It's not a sound you hear with your ears. It's a truth you recognize in your spirit. Close your eyes now. Let the noise of the day drift away. Don't fill the silence. Just be in it. The world may tell you that silence is empty, but in God's presence, silence is sacred. It's the space where love speaks without words, where peace wraps around you without reason. Breathe in slowly and listen, not for thunder, but for tenderness. Somewhere deep inside, that whisper is already speaking. You are mine. Let that truth settle over you like the gentlest rain, soft, quiet, and sure. You don't have to chase his voice. You only have to quiet your own. For in every still moment, he is speaking, and his whisper is enough to fill the silence with peace. Perfect peace. There are two kinds of silence. The kind that feels empty, and the kind that feels full. The first comes from distraction, when your mind runs wild, and your spirit feels far from rest. The second comes from focus, when your heart is anchored in God and everything else fades quietly into the background. Isaiah 26:3 promises, "You keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you." It's not a command to control your thoughts, but an invitation to center them where peace lives. Perfect peace doesn't mean a perfect life. It doesn't mean the storm disappears or the pain suddenly ends. It means that your soul learns to remain calm while the waves still rise. Because when your mind stays fixed on him, the world loses its power to shake you. The same wind that once terrified you becomes the breeze that carries your prayers. Peace begins where attention ends, where you stop staring at the chaos and start gazing at the Creator. Your mind will wander tonight. It's what minds do. But each time it drifts, gently bring it back to the truth that God is near, back to the calm that doesn't depend on circumstance, back to the quiet assurance that everything you release into His hands is safe. When your thoughts are scattered, your soul scatters with them. But when your thoughts rest on God, your soul follows that rest. So don't fight your thoughts, redirect them. Each worry can become a prayer. Each fear can become a reminder of His strength. Each breath can become a step closer to stillness. Take a slow breath now. Inhale deeply and let peace fill the space that anxiety once held. As you exhale, release every wandering thought, every regret, every unfinished task, every unspoken fear. Let them drift away like clouds passing across a steady sky. The sky doesn't chase them, it simply remains. So remain with Him. You don't need to think your way into peace. You only need to dwell in it. For peace is not something you create. It's something you remember. It has always been there, waiting beneath the noise. And when your mind rests on God, your soul finally follows home. The way home. There's a longing that lives quietly beneath every pursuit. A deep ache to belong, to rest, to finally feel at home. We chase many roads trying to find it. Some are paved with ambition, others with approval, others still with comfort or control. But each path, no matter how promising, ends in the same weary realization. The soul cannot find home on its own. And then comes the voice of Jesus in John 14:6, saying, "I am the way, and the truth and the life. His way is not a path you build, it's a person you follow. It's not about earning entry, but accepting invitation. We often think finding peace means figuring everything out, but it's really about letting go of the need to. Because his road is not made of effort, it's made of surrender. It winds through trust, not certainty. It calls you to stop walking alone and let him lead you where your striving never could. You may have wandered far. You may have taken detours that left you lost or ashamed. But distance means nothing to the God who calls you by name. No road is too broken, no turn too late. He can make every step, even the missteps, part of the journey back to him. The way home has always been open. It begins the moment you stop running and start resting. Home is not a place, it's his presence. It's the peace that hums beneath chaos, the quiet assurance that even when you're uncertain, you are held. And when Jesus says, "I am the way," he isn't pointing you toward a destination, he's drawing you into relationship. To walk with him is to walk in light. To know him is to find truth that cannot be shaken. To love him is to live, not just exist, but live fully, freely, and fearlessly. Take a slow breath now. Inhale his grace. Exhale the need to control your direction. With each breath, imagine yourself drawing closer, not to a place, but to a person who never left. You are not lost. You are not behind. You are already on the way home, because home is not far. Home is Jesus, and he's already walking beside you. The vine and the branches. Growth is often misunderstood. We think it happens in the noise of success, in the rush of progress, in the endless doing. But true growth, the kind that lasts, happens quietly, beneath the surface, in the soil of connection. Jesus reminds us in John 15:5, "I am the vine, you are the branches." It's not a command to produce, it's a call to remain. A branch doesn't force itself to bear fruit, it simply stays connected. Its strength doesn't come from striving, but from staying attached to the source. And in the same way, your soul doesn't flourish through effort, but through intimacy. You grow not by pushing harder, but by resting deeper in his presence. Every moment you spend abiding in him is a moment of unseen transformation. The world will tell you that your worth is measured by your productivity, by what you achieve, fix, or prove. But heaven measures differently. God isn't impressed by your speed. He's moved by your surrender. You are not loved for what you bring to him. You are loved because you belong to him. And when you stay close to the vine, his life flows through you, renewing, restoring, sustaining. Sometimes you'll feel dry, disconnected, or distant. But even then, he doesn't cut you off. He calls you closer. He prunes not to punish, but to help you grow stronger. And though pruning hurts, it clears away the weight that keeps you from bearing peace, joy, and faith. What looks like loss may actually be renewal. Take a slow, steady breath. Inhale his life. Warm, steady, endless. Exhale the exhaustion of trying to do it all on your own. Whisper softly, "Stay with me, Lord." And in that quiet prayer you'll realize he never left. You are already connected, already loved, already sustained. Every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of stillness is a reminder that his presence is flowing through you like sap through a living branch. You don't have to chase growth. It's already happening. You don't have to fight to belong. You already do. So tonight, stop trying to grow. Just stay. For in staying with him, your soul will bloom. The peace of surrender. We spend so much of our lives trying to hold things together. Plans, people, outcomes, even our own emotions. We grip tightly, afraid that if we let go, everything will fall apart. But peace doesn't come from holding on. It comes from handing over. Philippians 4:6-7 whispers the truth our restless hearts forget. Do not be anxious about anything. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Notice the sequence. Peace does not follow control, it follows surrender. God does not ask you to figure everything out. He asks you to trust that He already has. You don't find rest by predicting every what if. You find it by leaning into God will. And that simple shift from fear to faith turns chaos into calm. Surrender is not weakness. It is strength that chooses humility over anxiety, release over resistance. When you unclench your hands, heaven finally has room to work. The peace of God doesn't erase the storm. It builds shelter within it. It guards your heart like a soft but unshakable wall, protecting it from the noise that used to control you. Maybe tonight, your mind is busy writing stories about tomorrow. What could go wrong? What might not work? What still feels uncertain? Let those thoughts drift away. You don't have to hold tomorrow hostage with worry. God is already there, waiting in the dawn. He is writing goodness into chapters you haven't reached yet. Take a slow, deep breath. As you inhale, whisper silently, "Father, I trust you." As you exhale, release one thought that burdens you. Let it go, not because it doesn't matter, but because it matters too much to carry alone. Each breath becomes an act of surrender, each release a quiet offering of faith. Peace doesn't mean the absence of problems. It means the presence of God's protection within them. It's the stillness that hums beneath uncertainty, the calm that outlasts every storm. You don't have to understand it to experience it. You only have to let go. So tonight, rest your mind, unclench your heart, and trust this truth. You are safest when you stop controlling and start surrendering. The voice of love. Long before you ever spoke your first word, love had already spoken yours. Before you were known by the world, you were known by God, completely, tenderly, intentionally. John 3:16 reminds us of that timeless truth. For God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish but have eternal life. But this verse is not just about humanity, it's about you. You are part of that world. You are the reason love came close. The voice of love has never shouted to be heard. It whispers through every sunrise, every breath, every undeserved mercy. It doesn't speak in condemnation or demand perfection. It calls you by name and says, "You are mine." You are not a mistake to be tolerated, but a heart to be cherished. Every scar, every fear, every flaw, He sees them all and loves you still. The world may measure you by success, appearance, or strength, but love measures differently. It doesn't count your failures. It counts your belonging. It doesn't ask, "What have you done?" but rather, "Will you let me love you?" And when you finally stop running, you discover that love was never chasing to catch you. It was walking beside you all along. Maybe tonight you feel distant from that love, unsure if it still includes you after all you've been through. But love that depends on perfection isn't divine. It's human. God's love is deeper. It's the kind that finds you in the dark and refuses to leave. It's not based on your performance. It's rooted in His promise. Place your hand over your heart. Feel its steady rhythm. That is the sound of grace still choosing you. Whisper softly, "I am loved." Let those words echo beyond your lips and into your soul. Because sometimes the heart forgets what the spirit already knows. You are loved. Not someday. Not when you're better. Not if you prove yourself. Now. Loved as you are. Loved where you are. Loved without condition or end. So rest tonight in the truth that love Himself is near. You don't have to earn His voice. You only have to listen and hear it whisper again. "You are mine." The healing touch. There are wounds we can name, and there are wounds too deep for words. Some come from loss, others from silence. Some from the cruelty of others, and some from the expectations we placed upon ourselves. They linger quietly beneath smiles and daily routines, waiting for something greater than time to touch them. In Mark 5:34, Jesus says, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." He spoke those words to a woman who had been suffering for 12 long years, unseen, unhealed, and alone. She didn't have much left, just enough faith to reach out and touch the hem of his garment. And that was enough. Healing begins where fear ends. When she reached out, it wasn't confidence that moved her. It was desperation mixed with trust. And Jesus didn't scold her for her weakness. He honored her for her faith. She didn't have to be whole to come to him. She became whole because she did. That is the nature of his touch. It doesn't just heal the body, it restores the soul. Maybe tonight, there are parts of you that still ache. Places time has not softened, memories that still carry weight. You've tried to forget, to move on, to make peace with what never should have been. But what time could not heal, his touch still can. He doesn't rush your recovery or ask you to hide your pain. He simply invites you closer, saying, "Come as you are. I will meet you there." Take a deep breath now. As you inhale, imagine light flowing gently through your heart, warm, patient, kind. As you exhale, release the ache that's been holding on too long. You don't need to fix the wound. You only need to offer it, because the power that once calmed storms and raised the dead is the same power that now reaches toward you. Jesus heals not only what is broken, but what was forgotten. His touch restores what fear stole, what shame buried, what time tried to erase. And when he says, "Go in peace," it is not a dismissal. It is a blessing. It means the pain no longer defines you. The healing has already begun. Rest tonight in that truth. You are still being touched by grace. The gift of forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of the hardest gifts to give, because it often feels like surrendering justice or letting someone walk free who never said sorry. But forgiveness isn't about making wrong things right. It's about freeing your heart from the prison of pain. In Luke 23:34, as Jesus hung on the cross, surrounded by those who mocked, pierced, and betrayed him, he whispered words the world still struggles to comprehend. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Even in agony, his love outweighed his anger. Even in injustice, he chose mercy over revenge. That is the miracle of forgiveness. It is not human strength. It is divine grace flowing through wounded hearts. To forgive does not mean to forget. It means to no longer be defined by what hurt you. It is choosing peace over poison. And in that choice, you discover the same freedom that Jesus offered to the very ones who wounded him. Maybe tonight, there's a name that still stirs pain in your chest, a memory that feels unfinished, a betrayal that echoes in your thoughts long after the moment passed. Holding on to that weight feels like protection, but it's really a chain, one that tightens slowly, quietly, every time you revisit the wound. But when you forgive, you are not excusing what happened. You are refusing to let it own you anymore. Forgiveness is not weakness. It's strength purified by compassion. It takes courage to release what feels justified, but peace cannot live in a heart still occupied by bitterness. When you let go, you are not giving a gift to them. You are giving a gift to yourself. And heaven, seeing your release, fills the empty space with grace. Close your eyes. Whisper the name you need to release, not with anger, but with honesty. Then breathe out peace. Feel the tension in your body soften, the burden in your chest lighten. Forgiveness does not erase the story. It rewrites the ending. You are not meant to live chained to yesterday's hurt. You are meant to walk in the freedom of mercy. And as you forgive, that same mercy returns to you, quietly, beautifully, endlessly, the strength of gentle hearts. The world often celebrates loudness, voices that dominate, hands that grasp, wills that refuse to bend. But heaven speaks a different language. In Matthew 5:5, Jesus said, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." The word meek doesn't mean timid or powerless. It means strength wrapped in stillness, courage guided by compassion. It is the quiet heart that can carry weight without breaking, the gentle soul that can face storms without losing peace. Gentleness is not weakness, it is power under grace. It is knowing you could fight back, but choosing mercy instead. It is speaking truth without cruelty, standing firm without pride, loving deeply without demand. The gentle heart doesn't need to shout to be heard. It shines in silence, trusting that God sees what others miss. In a world built on noise and pride, gentleness becomes its own revolution. Maybe tonight you feel small in a world that rewards aggression. Maybe you've been overlooked because your kindness was mistaken for softness. But heaven notices the quiet strength you carry, the patience that endures, the forgiveness that costs, the peace that resists bitterness. Gentleness is not for the faint of heart. It is for those strong enough to stay kind in a cruel world. And the promise still stands. The meek will inherit the earth, not through conquest, but through endurance. When the proud burn out, the gentle remain. When the loud grow weary, the calm continue quietly in grace. Because gentleness does not run out of energy. It draws from a well that never dries, the well of divine peace. Take a slow, deep breath. Let the air fill your lungs, then release it softly. Whisper, soft heart, steady faith. Feel the words anchor you in stillness. Let them remind you that gentleness is not about retreat, it's about restraint. You don't lose by being kind, you lead by being calm. The world may overlook the gentle, but heaven crowns them with peace. Their hearts may seem fragile, but they hold the quiet strength of eternity. So tonight, rest your spirit. Let your gentleness become your armor, your calm become your courage. For God Himself moves most powerfully through gentle hearts, the light within you. There is a light that no storm can extinguish, no darkness can overcome, and no failure can erase. It was placed within you long before the world ever tried to define your worth. In Matthew 5:14, Jesus said, "You are the light of the world. Not you will become, not you were once, but you are, now, as you are." That light is not earned by effort. It's a gift from the one who spoke light into existence. The world will try to convince you that your glow must always be loud and visible. It will tell you that your light only matters when it's seen by others. But God's light doesn't depend on recognition. Even the smallest candle changes a room. Even the faintest glow guides someone lost in the dark. Your kindness, your patience, your quiet love, they are all rays of His light shining through you. You may not always feel radiant. Some nights your light may flicker beneath the weight of exhaustion, doubt, or grief. But a flickering flame is still fire, and God never demands brilliance. He simply asks you to remain lit, because even a small, steady glow can pierce the deepest darkness. You don't have to shine loudly, you only have to shine faithfully. Maybe tonight you feel dimmed by the world, by harsh words, by unseen struggles, by weariness you can't explain. But remember this, your light doesn't come from your strength. It comes from His Spirit within you. You are not the source, you are the vessel. And as long as He breathes in you, the flame endures. Close your eyes now. Imagine a warm glow in the center of your chest. It begins softly, golden, gentle, calm. With each breath, it expands, filling your body with warmth and peace. This is His presence in you, quiet, faithful, eternal. As you exhale, let the light radiate beyond you, to those you love, to those who've hurt you, to the world still searching for hope. You are the light of the world, not because you are perfect, but because He shines through your imperfections. So rest tonight, not in how brightly you burn, but in the truth that you are His lamp. Let your light rest, but never fade. The God of tomorrow. There is comfort in knowing that even when tomorrow feels uncertain, it is never unknown. You stand at the edge of time, unable to see what lies ahead, but He already stands in the places you fear to go. 29:11 holds this gentle promise. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." These are not just words for a moment. They are an eternal assurance that your story is safe in His hands. You don't need to see the whole map. You only need to trust the one who designed it. Faith isn't the ability to predict the path. It's the courage to walk when the path is hidden. Each step taken in trust becomes part of a journey that will one day make perfect sense. God is not improvising your tomorrow. He is preparing it with love, shaping it with purpose, and filling it with grace. Sometimes, tomorrow feels heavy because today hurts. You wonder how the broken pieces of now could ever become beauty later. But God is both the author and the artist. He never wastes a chapter, never paints without meaning. What feels delayed is not forgotten, it's being refined. And while you wait, He works quietly in the background, turning what once brought pain into what will one day bring peace. Maybe tonight your heart whispers questions. Will it work out? Will I find my way? Will I be okay? Listen closely. He answers not with explanations, but with presence. You don't need to know how when you already know who. The future is not a mystery to Him. It's a masterpiece in progress. Close your eyes and take a slow breath. As you inhale, feel peace rise like dawn. As you exhale, whisper softly, "Tomorrow belongs to you." Let those words loosen the grip of worry and bring your soul back to rest. You are not walking into uncertainty. You are walking into a plan already written in love. So rest tonight, not in what you can predict, but in who you can trust. For the God of tomorrow is already waiting for you there, with open arms and perfect peace. The promise of morning night has a way of magnifying what hurts. In the quiet hours, worries echo louder, memories replay sharper, and even the smallest fears seem to fill the room. But Scripture reminds us that darkness never has the final word. Psalm 30:5 says, "Weeping may stay for the night, but joy comes in the morning." Those words are not poetry. They are a promise. A promise that every shadow has an ending, every tear has a purpose, and every dawn carries renewal. God built a rhythm into creation, night and day, sorrow and joy, ending and beginning. The same God who paints sunsets in fire also brings morning in gold. And the same hands that allow your tears to fall are the ones that will one day wipe them away. Pain may visit, but it does not own the house. It stays for a season, not forever. Because joy always follows. It may not come in the way you expect, but it always arrives on time. Perhaps tonight you feel caught in the long middle between loss and light. Maybe your prayers have become whispers, or your strength feels small. But remember this, even now, mercy is on its way. While you rest, heaven is preparing dawn. The world may still be dark, but the horizon is already shifting. You cannot see it yet, but God's light is advancing toward you, steady, certain, unstoppable. Every tear you've cried has not been wasted. It waters the ground where future joy will grow. The soil of sorrow often births the sweetest faith, for it's in the night that trust learns to breathe, and it's in the waiting that joy learns how to shine. Take a slow, deep breath. Let the quiet hold you. As you exhale, whisper softly, "Joy is coming." Let those words rest over your heart like a warm blanket. You don't have to force the sunrise. It comes on its own. And when it does, you will find that what once hurt has turned into holy ground. So close your eyes, weary soul. You've wept long enough for tonight. Morning is on its way. And with it, light, mercy, and joy renewed just for you. The shepherd's care. There is something sacred in the way a shepherd moves. Slow, steady, unhurried. He does not drive the flock with fear. He guides it with love. Psalm 23 verse 1 opens with the quiet confidence of that truth. "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want." It is not a verse of abundance measured in things, but in peace. It means that where He leads, there is always enough. Enough grace for the moment, enough strength for the step, enough love to never be alone. You are guided, not forgotten. Even when the path feels uncertain or the valley seems endless, His hand never leaves your side. He knows the terrain of your life better than you do, the steep climbs, the still waters, the hidden dangers along the way, and he leads not from a distance, but from within the journey. He walks where you walk, hears what you whisper, and guards what you cannot protect. When the night grows cold and loneliness presses close, remember, the shepherd never sleeps. He keeps watch when you cannot. He defends when you are too weary to fight. His presence is both armor and comfort. You may not always understand the path, but you can trust the guide. The valleys you pass through are not punishments, they are passages. The shadows are not signs of his absence, but of his nearness. Because shadows only exist where light is still present. And even when you wander, his voice still calls you back, soft, steady, familiar. He knows your name, and he will never tire of leading you home. Take a slow, deep breath. Imagine yourself lying down in a green field, the sun warm on your face, the air still and calm. You hear the gentle rhythm of his steps nearby, assured, watchful, kind. No fear, no hurry, no demand. Only rest, because you are safe under his care. The shepherd's care is not something you earn, it's something you belong to. He doesn't measure your worth by how closely you follow. He measures it by how deeply he loves. And tonight, that love is enough. So rest your soul where he watches. And know that even now you lack nothing. The God who answers in silence. There are moments in life when heaven seems quiet, when prayers rise like smoke, but no echo returns. You wait, you wonder, you whisper again, "Lord, are you there?" And the silence stretches, heavy and deep. But silence, though unsettling, is not absence, it's invitation. An invitation to listen beyond words, to trust beyond sound, to rest beyond knowing. Psalm 62:5 says, "My soul waits silently for God alone, for my expectation is from him." These are not the words of impatience, but of peace born from surrender. We are used to noise, to answers that arrive quickly, to clarity that confirms our control. But faith doesn't flourish in constant reassurance. It grows in the space between prayers and responses, in the quiet where trust learns to breathe. The God who speaks through thunder also speaks through stillness, and often, his silence is not withholding, it is working. In the silence, God is shaping your heart to hear him differently. He teaches you that presence can be felt even when it isn't heard, that love can be trusted even when it isn't spoken aloud. He is not ignoring you, he is inviting you deeper, because in stillness, what once felt empty becomes sacred ground. Maybe tonight you are waiting for direction, for healing, for peace that hasn't yet come. You've searched the heavens for an answer, but all you found is quiet. Take heart. Silence is where faith matures. It is the space between God please and God has. And while you wait, he is already writing the next line of your story, gently, perfectly, on time. Take a slow breath now. As you inhale, whisper, "I wait." As you exhale, whisper, "I trust." Let the rhythm of your breathing become a prayer, not of urgency, but of surrender. Trust does not need proof, it only needs peace. And peace comes when you stop demanding noise and start noticing presence. The God of silence is not far away, he is nearer than your thoughts. His stillness is not distance, it's depth. And in that depth, he answers not with words, but with himself. Wait for him. Listen quietly. The silence is not empty, it's full of God. The gift of contentment. There is a quiet kind of wealth that doesn't live in numbers or possessions. It lives in peace. The world teaches us to chase more success, more comfort, more affirmation. But every pursuit of more eventually meets the same truth. The soul cannot be filled by what it collects, only by what it cherishes. Paul understood this when he wrote in Philippians 4:11, "I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances." He didn't say contentment came naturally, he said it was learned. And it is a lesson we must all learn in the gentle classroom of gratitude. Contentment doesn't mean you stop dreaming, it means you stop needing to control the outcome. It's not apathy, it's awareness. It's recognizing that peace is not found in having everything, but in seeing that what you have is already enough. When you live from gratitude, even little things become abundance. A quiet evening, a breath of air, the sound of rain, all become reminders that God's goodness is constant, not conditional. The restless heart often says, "I'll rest when things change." But the content heart whispers, "I can rest now, because He never changes." It's a shift from striving to trusting, from accumulation to appreciation. And in that shift, the heavy noise of want turns into the soft melody of peace. Maybe tonight, you've been measuring your worth by what's missing. You scroll, you compare, you ache for what seems out of reach. But you are not behind. You are held. You are not lacking. You are loved. The shepherd has already given you what your soul truly needs. His presence, His grace, His steady care. Everything else is a bonus. Take a slow breath. As you exhale, imagine the tension of wanting more melting away. Whisper one thing you're thankful for, something small, something real. Let gratitude settle into the corners of your heart like a soft light. This is contentment, the soul exhaling in trust. Peace doesn't come from more, it comes from enough. Enough grace for this night, enough strength for tomorrow, enough love to last forever. So rest tonight not in what you hope to gain, but in what you already have. For in God, you already have everything. The power of gentle words. Words are like wind. They can destroy or deliver life. Some carry heat that burns. Others bring calm that heals. Proverbs 15:1 reminds us, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." In a world that often prizes quick replies and sharp retorts, gentleness feels rare. Yet gentleness is not silence. It is strength clothed in grace. It's the power to respond without wounding, to correct without crushing, to speak truth that still carries warmth. The world shouts to be heard. Love whispers to be understood. Noise demands attention. Kindness earns it. When anger rises, yours or someone else's, words can become weapons before you realize it. But the gentle heart pauses. It listens before answering. It breathes before reacting. Because peace begins not in the tongue, but in the heart that chooses compassion over pride. Gentle words are not weak, they are wise. They have the power to disarm hostility, to heal misunderstanding, to rebuild bridges that harshness has burned. Even your self-talk matters. How often do you speak harshly to yourself, calling your own name in tones you'd never use with someone you love? The same gentleness God shows you, He asks you to extend to others and to your own soul. Perhaps tonight, you carry the weight of words spoken in anger, ones you regret, or ones that wounded you deeply. Remember, love does not erase words, but it can redeem them. Healing often begins with a softer sentence, with, "I'm sorry, I forgive you," or "I understand." Gentleness is the language of heaven, and every time you use it, you echo the voice of God. Take a slow breath now. Inhale and whisper quietly, "Peace." Exhale and whisper, "Gentleness." Let that rhythm wash over your thoughts like a tide calming restless waters. Let every harsh word, every sharp memory dissolve into stillness. God's Spirit within you is not a shout, it's a whisper. And when you choose gentleness, you align yourself with that holy rhythm. So tonight, speak softly, to others, to yourself, to God. Let your words be a balm, not a blade. For the quietest voices, spoken in love, are often the ones heaven amplifies the loudest. The secret of still waters. There is a sacred beauty in calm, a strength that doesn't shout, a peace that doesn't demand attention. Psalm 131 verse 2 says, "I have calmed and quieted my soul, like a weaned child with its mother. Like a weaned child, I am content." This is not the stillness of apathy, it's the stillness of trust. It's the deep breath after the struggle, the soft surrender that comes when you finally stop trying to control what was never yours to hold. Maturity is not noise, it's stillness. We often confuse movement with growth, but true maturity is learning to be at rest even when life remains unfinished. It's choosing silence over reaction, patience over panic, surrender over striving. When you stop fighting every current, you discover that peace has been waiting beneath the surface all along. Your soul is like water. It reflects whatever it focuses on. When it is stirred by worry or pride, the reflection distorts. But when it is calm, heaven becomes visible in it. Stillness doesn't mean everything around you is quiet. It means everything within you is. It's the holy balance between faith and acceptance, between hope and rest. Maybe tonight, your heart feels like a stormed sea, waves of regret, of hurry, of endless thinking. But even the wildest tide obeys his voice. He whispers to your spirit as he did to the waves long ago, "Peace, be still." And when you let that voice settle deep within, the chaos begins to lose its strength. Take a slow breath. Close your eyes and imagine a quiet lake at dawn. The water smooth, the air cool, the light of heaven mirrored perfectly across its surface. Now imagine your own heart becoming that lake. As you inhale, whisper softly, "Lord, calm the tides within me." As you exhale, feel every ripple of restlessness fade away. Still waters do not mean lifeless waters, they mean peaceful ones, and peace is not the absence of motion. It is motion governed by grace. When your soul is quiet, you see God more clearly. When your heart rests, your faith deepens. So tonight, let the striving cease. Be still and let your soul reflect heaven once more. Faith over fear. Fear is a quiet thief. It doesn't always shout. It often whispers, creeping softly into the corners of your heart until peace feels distant. But the voice of God speaks louder than fear, not in volume, but in truth. In Isaiah 41:10 he says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." These words are not a suggestion, they are a promise. Fear fades when you remember who stands beside you. It loses its grip when you realize that the same hands that formed the stars now hold your trembling heart. God never promised that the road would be easy, but he promised you would never walk it alone. And that is enough, because the strength to overcome fear doesn't come from pretending you're not afraid. It comes from trusting that he is greater than whatever you fear. Faith doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you don't let fear make the final decision. It's choosing to keep walking even when you can't see the whole path. It's trusting the one who sees the end from the beginning. Even when your knees shake, your faith can stand firm, because it's not grounded in circumstance, but in presence. Maybe tonight, fear sits quietly in your chest, fear of loss, of failure, of the unknown. But remember, fear feeds on imagination, faith feeds on truth. And the truth is this: God is with you. He is not distant, not uncertain, not silent. He is the steady hand on your shoulder, the calm voice in the storm, the anchor that keeps you from drifting. Take a deep breath. As you inhale, feel courage rise. As you exhale, whisper softly, "You are with me." Let the rhythm of those words wrap around your heart like a shield. Every breath is a reminder. You are not alone, not for a moment. Faith does not chase fear away by force. It dissolves it by trust. And tonight, that trust is enough. You are safe because his presence is here. So rest, breathe, and let faith settle where fear once lived. The lamp of the word. There are nights when the road ahead feels hidden, when the fog of uncertainty settles thick and every direction looks the same. In those moments, it's easy to wish for clarity, for the full map laid out before you. But Psalm 119 verse 105 whispers a gentler truth. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Not a floodlight that reveals everything, just a lamp. Just enough light for one small, faithful step at a time. God's word rarely shows you the whole journey. Instead, it teaches you to trust Him in the process. It invites you to walk slowly, to depend daily, to learn that the path itself is part of His guidance. Each verse, each promise, each whisper of Scripture is like a flicker of light along the road, a reminder that you are not walking blind, even when you can't see far ahead. Even the smallest light changes the night. A single flame in the darkness doesn't remove the shadows, but it gives you direction. That is how God's word works. It doesn't eliminate the unknown, but it keeps you from being lost in it. It's not about knowing the destination, it's about knowing who walks beside you on the way. Maybe tonight, you're asking questions without answers, wondering what comes next, how to decide, where to turn. You want certainty, but God offers something deeper: guidance. Certainty ends when the path changes. Guidance endures because His hand never leaves. If you trust His light, even the dimmest glow will be enough to move forward. Take a slow breath. Close your eyes and picture a small lantern glowing in your hand. Its light reaches just a few steps ahead, but not beyond, and that's okay. As you take each step, more of the path appears, illuminated just in time. That is how grace works, always on time, always enough. God's word doesn't rush you, it steadies you. It keeps your feet from stumbling and your heart from fearing the dark. So tonight, rest not in how much you see, but in the one who lights the way. The lamp is enough for the path before you, and His word will always lead you home. The strength of surrender. There is a strange and beautiful truth about strength. It often hides inside surrender. The world tells you to hold tighter, push harder, prove more. But the kingdom speaks differently. When I am weak, then I am strong. 2 Corinthians 12:10. God doesn't need your perfection. He asks for your permission. Permission to take what's breaking you, to carry what you can't, to fill the empty spaces your effort never could. Real strength isn't in control, it's in release. It's the quiet courage of unclenched fists and open hands, because what we hold too tightly begins to hold us back. Pride says, I must handle it. Faith says, I can't, but He can. And when you finally let go, you don't fall apart. You fall into grace. Surrender is not defeat. It is the doorway to freedom. It's where striving stops and trust begins. It's where your plans make room for His purpose and your exhaustion meets His endless strength. When you let go of control, you don't lose power. You receive it from a higher source. And the power that comes from grace is gentler, steadier, eternal. Maybe tonight, you are carrying more than your heart was built to hold. The worries of tomorrow, the guilt of yesterday, the ache of something you couldn't fix. But you were never meant to bear it all. You were meant to bring it to Him. He doesn't ask you to pretend it's easy. He simply asks you to trust that He is enough. Take a slow breath now. As you exhale, whisper softly, I let go. Open your hands, even if only slightly, and feel the tension ease from your body. The act may be small, but its meaning is infinite. Because each time you let go, heaven steps closer. God's grace does not rush in through strength. It flows through surrender. It's in your lowest moments that His love rises tallest. So tonight, stop trying to hold everything together. Let Him hold you instead. Your weakness isn't the end of your story. It's the place where His begins to shine. Let go, rest, and discover that surrender is not your breaking point. It's your becoming point, the gift of a new heart. Some wounds go too deep for simple repair. Time can soften them, but it cannot make them new. There are scars that memory keeps touching, pains that resurface when the night grows still. And yet, God does not offer to merely mend what is broken. He promises something far more miraculous. In Ezekiel 36:26, he says, "I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you." Healing begins with renewal, not repair. God doesn't just stitch over the damage. He creates something fresh, something divine. He doesn't recycle your old strength. He replaces it with his own. You are not being fixed. You are being transformed. The heart you carry now, though tired, is becoming holy ground, softened by grace, remade by mercy, and filled with peace. When God gives a new heart, He doesn't erase your past. He redeems it. The pain you endured becomes soil for compassion. The tears you shed become rivers of empathy. What once hardened you begins to humble you. And what once broke you becomes the very place He breathes new life. Maybe tonight, your heart feels heavy, burdened by mistakes, disappointments, or the quiet ache of regret. But God's renewal is not dependent on your worthiness. It's built on His love. He delights in taking what feels unusable and making it beautiful again. Every beat of your heart tonight is a rhythm of grace, a reminder that He is still working within you. Close your eyes. Take a deep, gentle breath. As you inhale, imagine a soft light filling your chest. Warm, pure, and peaceful. That light is His Spirit, restoring what was weary, reviving what felt lost. As you exhale, release the old, the bitterness, the fear, the guilt. Let it leave quietly, without resistance. You are not the same as you were before. Every moment of surrender becomes a brushstroke in His new creation. And slowly, surely, the heart within you begins to reflect His own. Tender, steadfast, whole. You are being renewed tonight, not repaired. You are being remade in love, reshaped by grace, restored in peace. And this new heart, His gift, will carry you into joy again, the refuge of peace. There is a place the world cannot touch, a sacred refuge hidden in the presence of God. It is not a mountain to climb or a temple to find. It lives quietly within the soul that trusts. Psalm 91 verse 1 promises, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." In that shadow, fear cannot reach you. In that stillness, chaos loses its voice. Peace isn't found by escaping the storm, but by resting beneath His shelter. The storm may rage around you, but it cannot define you when your heart dwells in Him. You don't have to run from the noise, you only have to rest in the shadow of His wings. That's the mystery of divine peace. It doesn't require perfect circumstances, only perfect trust. When the world demands that you fight, fix, or flee, God invites you to abide, to dwell, not visit, in His safety. It's not a temporary hiding place, but a home for the weary soul. You are not forgotten out in the open. You are covered by the Almighty, watched over by love itself. Maybe tonight, the noise of life still echoes in your chest. The world keeps spinning, and your thoughts keep chasing what won't rest. But peace doesn't mean silence outside. It means stillness within. And His shadow, gentle, strong, ever present, is large enough to hold every fear you've ever carried. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself stepping into a quiet refuge. Soft light, steady air, the faint sound of calm beyond the storm. You feel His presence like a warm blanket, wrapping gently around your shoulders. The wind outside may howl, but here, under His shadow, everything slows. Everything breathes. You are safe. You are known. You are loved. As you inhale, whisper, "Lord, hide me in your peace." As you exhale, feel your worries soften and dissolve. Peace doesn't mean the storm disappears. It means it no longer commands your heart. Rest here tonight, in the secret place where fear fades and faith grows quiet. Because the shadow of the Almighty isn't dark, it's warm. And in that refuge, your soul will always find home. The whisper of faith. Faith doesn't arrive with thunder. It comes softly, like a whisper in the dark, a small light flickering in the quiet corners of your soul. Romans 10:17 reminds us, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. not by seeing, not by knowing, but by hearing. Faith begins in the simple act of listening, even when the world is loud and the answers feel far away. God rarely speaks in noise, he speaks in nearness. He doesn't demand attention with chaos, he invites connection through calm. Every time you pause long enough to hear his word, your heart remembers who it belongs to. It's not the volume of your belief that matters, it's the direction of your focus. And when you focus on him, even the faintest faith becomes enough. Faith doesn't shout, it listens. It listens when the night is long. It listens when prayers feel unanswered. It listens when your heart trembles between doubt and hope. Because deep down, faith knows that God's silence isn't absence, it's preparation. He's shaping something in you that sight could never teach. Maybe tonight, you don't feel strong in belief. Maybe your prayers have grown quieter, your confidence thin. But even now, the smallest whisper, "I believe," is enough for heaven to hear. Faith doesn't need to roar, it only needs to breathe. And every breath of trust becomes a seed in the soil of your soul, ready to bloom when the light returns. Take a slow breath in. Let his word settle gently into your heart like morning dew on still grass. Now exhale, releasing every thought that drowns out his voice. Whisper softly, "I believe." Again, slower this time. "I believe." Feel those words pulse through you, not as noise, but as life. Faith grows best in quiet. It's born in the pause between fear and surrender, in the moment you choose to listen instead of worry. So tonight, let his word be the rhythm of your rest. Let it feed your faith, not your fear. And as the world drifts away and silence deepens, you'll find that his whisper, steady, gentle, eternal, has been speaking peace all along. The Comforter has come. There is a kind of comfort the world cannot give, a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances or the absence of pain. It is quiet, yet powerful, invisible, yet unmistakable. It is the comfort of the Holy Spirit, the gentle presence promised by Jesus when he said, "The Comforter, the Holy Spirit, will teach you all things." John 14:26. You are never alone. Even in your loneliest moments, when the room feels too still and your thoughts too loud, the Spirit is there, nearer than breath. He doesn't need to announce himself, he simply is. Like air you didn't realize you were breathing, his presence surrounds you, fills you, and steadies what trembles inside. The Spirit does not always remove the storm, but he changes the way you stand in it. He doesn't silence every fear, but he teaches your heart how to rest in the middle of uncertainty. He turns panic into prayer, tension into trust, and chaos into calm. When you remember he lives within you, you stop searching for peace outside. You begin to find it inside. Maybe tonight your heart aches with unspoken weight. You've tried to be strong for too long, and the silence feels heavy. But the Comforter is already here, whispering between every breath. You don't have to carry this alone. He is not a distant helper, he is a faithful presence. When you cannot pray, he intercedes. When you cannot speak, he listens. When you cannot stand, he holds. Close your eyes now. Take a slow, deep breath in. As you inhale, imagine the Holy Spirit wrapping you in warmth, like gentle air moving through your lungs, filling every hollow space. As you exhale, feel the tension release, melting into his peace. You are surrounded. You are safe. You are seen. The Comforter has come, not for the strong, but for the weary. Not for the perfect, but for the honest. He sits beside your sorrow and transforms it into stillness. He teaches your soul that peace is not a place, it's a person, and he is already here. Rest tonight in that truth. You are not forgotten. You are held in holy comfort, and the storm outside cannot touch the calm within. The gift of trust. Trust is one of the hardest gifts to give, and yet, it is the most freeing. To trust means loosening your grip on what you cannot control and placing it gently in the hands of the one who can. Proverbs 3:5 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." That verse doesn't ask you to stop thinking. It asks you to stop overthinking. It's an invitation to rest, not to reason your way into peace. Faith begins where logic ends. You may not see the plan, but you can rest in the planner. God's path is often hidden beneath uncertainty because He wants you to walk by trust, not sight. If you knew every outcome, faith would have no place to grow. But when you step forward without answers, trusting the unseen hand that guides you, you discover that faith is not weakness. It's courage in disguise. Trust doesn't mean you stop caring or feeling. It means you choose peace over panic, surrender over struggle, and love over control. It's a quiet declaration. I don't need to understand to obey. I don't need to see to believe. Because deep down, you know that the same God who has carried you through every yesterday will not fail you tomorrow. Maybe tonight, your heart is caught between wanting answers and needing peace. You've tried to figure it all out, but the pieces refuse to fit. That's okay. You're not called to complete the puzzle. You're called to trust the one who designed it. Every delay, every detour, every door that didn't open was not punishment. It was protection. He sees what you can't, and His timing is never late. It's preparing you for more than you can yet imagine. Take a slow breath. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the weight of control slip quietly off your back. As you exhale, whisper softly, "I trust you." Say it again, slower, "I trust you." Let the words settle into your chest like a steady heartbeat. Trust is not blind. It's anchored in love, and love has never failed you. So tonight, rest in the arms of the one who sees the end from the beginning. You don't have to understand His plan to be safe in it. The beauty of waiting. Waiting. It's one of the hardest lessons of faith. In a world that glorifies speed and demands instant results, waiting feels like standing still while life moves past you. But Isaiah 40:31 whispers a deeper truth. They who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. Waiting is not wasted. It's where wings grow. Patience is faith stretched by time. It is trust proven in silence, obedience practiced in stillness. When God asks you to wait, He is not withholding, He is working. Every quiet season is a sacred workshop where strength is renewed, perspective refined, and faith deepened. What feels like a delay is often preparation for something greater than you could imagine if it came too soon. Think of the seed buried in the soil. It waits in darkness, unseen, while the world above it blooms. But beneath the surface, life is stirring. Roots are stretching deep so that when the time comes, the seed can rise strong. That's what God does with your soul in the seasons of waiting. He builds depth before He brings growth. Maybe tonight, you're weary of waiting, for healing, for answers, for peace to finally come. You wonder if God has forgotten, if your prayers have vanished into silence. But silence is not abandonment, it's alignment. He's aligning your heart with His timing, shaping your spirit to carry what He's preparing for you. Because when it finally comes, it won't just bless you, it will sustain you. Close your eyes. Take a slow breath in. As you inhale, whisper, "Your timing, not mine." As you exhale, feel the weight of impatience drift away. In that surrender, you'll find strength returning, quietly, steadily, like dawn breaking over a long night. Waiting isn't passive, it's powerful. It's choosing to stay rooted in faith even when nothing moves. It's believing that the God who began a good work in you is faithful to finish it, even if the finish line isn't yet visible. So rest tonight, not in what you hope will come, but in the one who holds every moment in His hands. Because in God's time, waiting always becomes becoming. And the beauty of waiting is this: while you wait, He works. The quiet victory. Some victories don't look like triumph. They look like trust. No noise, no fanfare, no display of strength. Just quiet confidence in a God who fights battles too vast for your eyes to see. Exodus 14:14 says, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only be still." In a world that teaches you to push, strive, and defend yourself at every turn, this verse feels like a revolution. Be still. Stillness is not surrender to defeat. It's surrender to divine power. It's choosing to believe that God is doing more in your waiting than you could ever do in your worrying. When you stop trying to win on your own, you make space for heaven to move. Because sometimes, the greatest act of faith is standing still in the middle of the storm and whispering, "I trust you." Victory doesn't always roar. It often whispers. It's the peace that replaces panic when nothing around you has changed. It's the strength to stay kind when anger tempts you. It's the quiet decision to forgive instead of fight. God's victories rarely need to be loud. They need only to be real. He wins in ways the world doesn't notice, but eternity remembers. Maybe tonight, you feel tired from battles that never seem to end. You've tried every solution, every defense, and your heart feels worn from the effort. But the Lord whispers, "This one is mine." Let that truth rest on you like a warm blanket. You were never meant to fight everything. Some wars are won in worship, not warfare. Some storms stop not because you shouted louder, but because you went silent and trusted. Take a deep breath now. As you exhale, whisper softly, "You are my defender." Feel the tension in your body release, as if heaven itself is reminding you, this is not your burden to carry. Your stillness is not weakness, it's worship. And in that stillness, God moves. He fights quietly but completely. He works invisibly but victoriously. Every unseen battle he wins leaves behind one radiant truth: peace. So rest tonight in his victory, not yours. Because the fight is already finished, and the silence of your faith is the sound of heaven's triumph. The river of peace. There is a peace that doesn't depend on quiet surroundings. It flows from within, like a river that never runs dry. Jesus said in John 7:38, "Whoever believes in me, rivers of living water will flow from within them." Notice the words, not trickle, not drop, but rivers, endless, renewing, alive. That's what his Spirit brings. Peace that moves, heals, and refreshes everything it touches. Peace isn't something you have to chase. It's something that's already planted in you. When you believe, the source takes residence inside your heart. The living water doesn't come from outside circumstances, from perfect days or answered prayers. It comes from within, flowing through faith. Even when life feels heavy or unclear, that river keeps moving, softly carving through every hard place until peace finds its way through. Restlessness often begins when we try to control the flow, when we dam the river with worry, fear, or regret. But peace comes the moment you let go and allow God's Spirit to move freely again. It's not about trying harder to feel calm. It's about trusting deeper that his calm already lives in you. The world tells you to find peace by changing your surroundings, but Jesus tells you to discover it by returning to your source. Maybe tonight, your heart feels dry, like all your prayers have sunk into silence, like the stream of hope has slowed to a whisper. But the river is still there. It never left. It only waits for your stillness to start flowing again. Every breath of faith is like opening a new channel for that living water to run through. Close your eyes. Imagine a gentle river flowing through your chest, cool, clean, endless. It carries away everything heavy, the worry that won't quiet, the regret that won't fade, the fear that won't sleep. In its place comes softness, serenity, and sacred strength. This is what it means to rest in him, to stop clinging to control and start floating in grace. Peace isn't found, it flows. Let his Spirit move through you tonight. Let his river wash the dust from your heart, and may its current carry you into rest deeper than dreams. For where his living water flows, no storm can stay. The promise still stands. Time has a way of testing faith. Days turn into months, prayers stretch into silence, and hope feels like a fragile thread between your fingers. But Hebrews 10:23 reminds you, let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. The world changes, seasons shift, but the word of God does not tremble. His promises don't expire with time, they deepen with trust. God doesn't forget what he promises. Even when you can't feel his movement, his purpose is still unfolding. Silence doesn't mean he's gone quiet, it means he's still working. He builds fulfillment slowly, so your faith can stand firmly when it arrives. The waiting seasons are not empty. They are where your roots grow strong enough to hold the weight of answered prayer. There are promises written over your life that are older than your fear. Promises that were spoken before you took your first breath, and they do not break under delay, they ripen. Heaven never rushes, because divine timing is never late. The promise still stands, not because you've been strong, but because he has been faithful. Maybe tonight your heart feels tired of hoping. You've prayed the same words for so long they sound like echoes. But remember, every echo comes from a sound that still exists. Your prayers haven't vanished. They're reverberating through eternity, touching the heart of God again and again. And even if you can't see it yet, something is moving in your favor. Faith is not proven when everything happens fast. It's proven when you keep believing slow. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a slow breath in and whisper, "Your promise still stands." Let those words rise like light through the shadows of your thoughts. Breathe out and release the need to know when or how. Trust that the one who spoke the promise will bring it to pass. He has never failed a single word. Hope is not fragile, it is anchored in eternity. And though the wind may bend you, it cannot break you. The same God who began your story will finish it in glory. So rest tonight, not in what's visible, but in what's certain. The promise still stands, and so will you. The heart of gratitude. Gratitude is not a reaction, it's a rhythm. It's the soft heartbeat of faith that says, even now, even here, God is good. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 reminds us, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you, not for everything, but in everything. Because gratitude doesn't ignore pain, it transforms perspective. It shifts the soul from want to wonder, from complaint to contentment, from scarcity to sacredness. When you thank God for the ordinary, life becomes extraordinary. A simple breath becomes a miracle. The beating of your heart becomes evidence of mercy. The moments you once called small reveal themselves as threads of grace woven through your days. Gratitude is how your spirit learns to see what your eyes overlook. It opens the window to joy, even in the middle of storms. The truth is, joy doesn't come from having more. It comes from noticing more. When you pause long enough to thank God, your heart realigns with heaven's rhythm. Suddenly, even the things you once took for granted, the roof over your head, the food on your table, the breath in your lungs, become reasons to bow in awe. Gratitude turns moments into miracles. Maybe tonight you feel weary, your blessings overshadowed by burdens. But even now, gratitude is waiting, quiet and near. It doesn't ask you to pretend the pain is gone. It asks you to notice the grace that remains. Because every night that ends is a gift of endurance, and every dawn that rises is proof that mercy never runs out. The more you give thanks, the lighter your heart becomes. It's impossible to be truly grateful and truly anxious at the same time. One always silences the other. Before you sleep, take a slow breath in. Let your mind drift toward 3 blessings. They don't need to be grand, just real. A kind word, a safe place, a moment of peace that found you today. Now, whisper softly, "Thank you, Lord, for all that is and all that's coming." Gratitude is the song your soul sings even in silence. It is worship without words, faith without striving, peace without proof. So rest tonight with a grateful heart, and wake tomorrow with eyes that see the holy in the humble. The presence of joy. Joy is not the absence of sorrow, it's the presence of God. Psalm 16:11 says, "In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore." Notice that. Fullness. Not fragments, not moments, but a wholeness that cannot be shaken. Joy is not something you chase. It's something that finds you when your heart is still enough to notice Him near. The world often mistakes happiness for joy. Happiness is fleeting. It depends on what happens. But joy is rooted in presence, not circumstance. It can coexist with pain because it flows from the unchanging character of God. Even when the night feels long and uncertain, joy sits quietly in the corner of your soul, waiting for you to look up and see that He has been with you all along. When you rest near God, gladness grows like dawn after the night. Slowly, steadily, faithfully. It begins as a warmth in the heart, a small reminder that even in heaviness, you are held. His presence doesn't erase sorrow, but it redeems it. It turns tears into seeds, planting hope in places where despair once lived. And one day, those seeds blossom into a joy that doesn't fade with the setting sun. Maybe tonight, your spirit feels dim, tired from carrying too much, too long. But even here, joy is alive beneath the surface. It hums softly, reminding you that you were never meant to live joyless, only joy, aware. Because every moment you draw near to Him, your soul remembers what peace feels like. You were made for His presence, and in that presence, joy is not a guest, it's home. Close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath. Feel the air fill your lungs like a quiet sunrise inside you. As you exhale, smile softly and whisper, "You are here." Let those 3 words become your rest. Let them remind you that even now, God's nearness is your gladness. Joy doesn't need noise, it needs awareness. And tonight, in the stillness of your spirit, that awareness is awakening again. So rest not in what is missing, but in who is present. Because where God is, joy always lives, quiet, complete, and forever new. The unshakable kingdom. The world trembles, news changes, people change, seasons rise and fall like tides. Even the ground beneath your feet can feel uncertain at times. What once felt safe now shifts without warning. But Hebrews 12:28 reminds us of a deeper reality. Since we are receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken, let us be thankful. Everything around you may move, but heaven remains. Its foundation doesn't crack under pressure. Its peace doesn't waver with time. When you anchor your hope in heaven, the trembling of earth cannot reach you. It's not that storms won't come. They always do. But they can no longer uproot you. You stand upon something eternal, something stronger than fear, deeper than loss, and steadier than circumstance. That something is not a place, it's a presence. It's the rule of Christ within you, the unshakable kingdom of peace and grace. So much of life teaches you to hold on to what is temporary, success, approval, comfort, control. But all of these are sand, and when the wind comes, they scatter. God invites you to build on rock, to root your life in what will not move. Because when everything else falls away, His truth, His love, His kingdom remain. That is not poetry, it's promise. Maybe tonight, the world feels uncertain. You've seen things crumble, plans, dreams, even pieces of yourself. But take heart. What falls apart outside can lead you deeper inside, into the place where God's reign is unbreakable. You are not standing on chaos, you are standing on Christ, and the ground beneath His name never shifts. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine standing barefoot on solid earth. Around you, waves crash and winds howl, but they fade the closer you listen. Under your feet, the ground hums with quiet strength. You are safe, not because the storm has ended, but because the foundation beneath you will never move. Whisper softly, "Lord, plant my heart in what lasts forever." Let that be your prayer, your grounding, your peace. Because the kingdom you belong to is not fragile. It does not tremble with the world. It transforms it. So rest tonight in the unshakable truth. You are part of a kingdom that will never fall, and your soul is already home. The blessing of rest. Rest is not a reward for finishing everything. It is a reminder that you are already enough. Exodus 33:14 carries a promise straight from the heart of God. My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Not, I will give you escape. Not, I will give you success, but rest. Because true rest isn't found in an empty schedule. It's found in a full heart, one filled with His presence. We often chase peace like a finish line, believing it waits for us on the other side of completed tasks and solved problems. But peace doesn't live at the end of effort. It meets you in surrender. It's the deep exhale when you realize you don't have to carry everything alone. It's the silence that follows when you stop trying to earn what has already been freely given. Rest is not weakness. It's worship. When God promised Moses His presence and His rest, He was offering something greater than relief. He was offering relationship. Rest comes when love becomes your atmosphere. When you finally stop running toward what's next and start leaning into who He already is. Even in the noise of life, His stillness surrounds you. You don't need to go anywhere to find it. You only need to return inward, where His Spirit waits patiently. Maybe tonight, your body is tired, but your mind keeps running. You lie down, but your thoughts keep rising. Unfinished conversations, unanswered prayers, unending plans. But the presence of God whispers, you can stop now. Not because everything is done, but because everything is held. The one who watches over you neither sleeps nor forgets, so you can rest without fear. Take a slow breath in. Whisper softly, I rest in you. Let that phrase become your rhythm, each inhale drawing His peace in, each exhale releasing the day's weight. Feel the tension unwind, the noise fade, the stillness expand. Rest is not escape, it's alignment. It's coming back into harmony with the heartbeat of heaven. And tonight, that rhythm is calling you home. Let His presence be your pillow. Let His love be your blanket. And let your soul at last find what it was made for, the blessing of perfect, peaceful rest in Him, the eternal morning. There is a dawn coming that no night can delay, a light so pure, so constant, that even time itself will bow before it. Revelation 21:4 whispers this promise of forever peace. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying, nor pain, for the former things have passed away. And then, those quiet, eternal words, there shall be no more night. Every night you've ever known has ended in mourning, but this one will never fade. This is not the morning of the sun. It is the morning of the soul. The day when every ache finds healing, every wound finds meaning, every tear finds a hand to catch it. That is the promise that carries us through the long hours. Not just that light will come again, but that one day it will never leave. There is a peace beyond the world's reach. It is not fragile or fleeting. It does not dim with loss or tremble under fear. It waits patiently, just beyond this life's horizon, shining with a tenderness that time cannot touch. The same God who formed galaxies also formed this promise for you, and He will keep it because He has never failed to finish what He begins. Maybe tonight you feel the weight of darkness, the sorrow of what's been lost, the ache of what still hurts. But know this, even now, light is already on its way. God is not distant. He is dawn itself. The darkness you feel is not the end. It's the final shadow before morning breaks eternal. Close your eyes gently. Take a slow, deep breath and imagine waking in a world where the air is peace and every heart is whole. No fear, No fatigue, no distance, only light. Light that does not fade. Light that feels like home. Whisper softly, Lord, bring my heart to your eternal peace. Let that prayer rest like a promise between your breath and your soul. For tonight is not the end of the story. It's a step toward forever. Sleep in that truth. You are moving toward morning. And when you awaken, whether in this world or the next, it will be in the glow of a dawn that never ends.